I'm going to walk you through just working with a simple drawing for our kind of first day. So hopefully on some graph paper you've already sketched a drawing. Here I drew mine on digital graph paper just so I could do it in a screencast. Now the one thing we're going to notice when we draw in our JavaScript is that the coordinates don't go the way we're used to from math class. So if I look at my first line here, it went to 20, 20, and then moved to 100, 200. And normally we would expect that to go up because the center in Cartesian coordinates is in the middle, but this actually comes down. So the way coordinates work in computer graphics is actually how it's labeled on this graph paper here I found on the online. So 0, 0 is in the top left corner, and then it moves to the right and it moves down. So if you've got some graph paper, you can just label the edges of your drawing at roughly 0 and 600. And you can actually label them anything you want, but the numbers that you set up in your program where it says canvas width and canvas height will be your maximum sizes. So 600 is my default, which happens to be also what I have on this graph paper. And then we're going to just translate those numbers. So I'm going to start by trying to draw, let's say, the eye here. And I'm going to notice it starts right around x value, maybe 125, and y value 175. So I'm going to move this to 125. Oops. 175. And then my next line goes out to roughly like 260 in the x direction. And it's the same height, so the y value should be about the same. So I'll stick that with 175. And then they're going to come all the way down to looks like 200, 325. Beautiful. And then I want to go back to the beginning. All right, and there I have drawn my first triangle. All right, so I'm going to change my comment here. It says, make a triangle eye. All right. And my second step, I might go ahead and make the second triangle eye. I'm doing something you should never do here. I'm just copy-pasting code. We have a basic principle called dry in programming, which is don't repeat yourself. So you should feel a little bad about yourself if you copy-paste the way I just did. When it's your first day, that's acceptable. Later, we'll learn some techniques to never do that. But my second eye is going to look kind of the same. It's just going to start at like 340 and go out to, looks like 483. So I'm going to take, oops, I forgot the first one there. That 125 and move it to 340. 340. And then that second value, I think I said like 425 or something. And then the one in between has to be right between 340 and 425, so maybe 390. All right, pretty good, but I was wrong about that 425. That's not wide enough, is it? So maybe 465. All right, getting there. And again, if I wanted them to look a little skewed like those do, I could move this corner up a bit. There we go, and I could do the same thing. Maybe this first one goes up. There we go, 155. All right, and I've got two eyes. There we go, like that. So that's kind of the idea. of drawing from coordinates. You would just look at your graph paper, and you'd start at 0, and you'd measure out to 600, and then you'd try to get an idea of, okay, where do these items go on that coordinate plane? And then you can simply use these line 2 methods to draw them. There are some other methods that exist. So among them, the rectangle is very useful, and the autocomplete is very helpful. So rectangle takes an x, a y, a width, and a height. So let's say I want this outside to start at 50, 100. And then I want to think about how wide it is. So it looks like it's about 450 wide, and it's roughly a square. So let's do 450, 450. Now I have a perfect rectangle if I wanted to make it. That's pretty good. So also, you can use an arc2. Arc2 looks a lot more complicated, doesn't it? It takes x1. Oh, I see. That's way harder. It's got 2 x rings and a radius. We have to look that up. Forget that. There's also an arc method, which just draws circles, if you want to do that. So let's imagine I wanted to put a circle right in the middle of this canvas. That takes a radius. And then the angles, if you just want a circle, it's 0 and then 2 times math.pi is how you get pi. This is in radians. So 2 pi radians is a full circle. That's pretty good. One problem is it drags the little pointer thing with it. I mean, also that circle is way too big. But anytime we want to lift up the pen and move it, we can call our stroke method, which draws, and then we can begin a new path with begin path, like that. And we can move those around as we like. All right, there's the start. There are some techniques I can show you for repeating or looping, which I'll show you in a separate video.